All right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome to weekly Quranic wisdom study with Dr. Yamina. We're continuing to explore windows onto our Creator, seeing the signs pointing to God all around us and inside us, in the outer and inner world, inshallah, together. Last time we had looked at 11th window. I believe we're going to continue and wrap up that conversation and then move on to another window. As usual, you're welcome to join in with questions, comments. These are extremely important, essential topics and subjects. And alhamdulillah, we have a text in front of us that is really making dense and complicated ideas, well, not complicated, but dense ideas accessible to us. And mashallah, unpacking the Quranic wisdom. Alhamdulillah. So please don't be shy. If you have a question, if you feel like an issue keeps being discussed, but you don't quite understand, you're welcome to ask a question or share a comment. And we want to reflect together, inshallah. And without further delay, I turn to Dr. Yamina. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina.
Thank you, Isra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah, everyone is doing well in our journey in this transient world, in our journey to eternity, our journey to Akhirah, inshallah. So we stopped at the 11th window, and this window was a reflection on Ayah 28 of Surah Al-Ra'd, Surah 13. It was mentioning the last part of the ayah, which is أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنَّ الْقُلُوبِ. Truly, in the remembrance of God, hearts do find their rest, their tranquility, their inner peace, their reassurance. Tatmin, itma'anna has connotation of calming, soothing, comforting, reassuring, satisfaction, calmness, peace of mind. So it's a nice word. It's a hal, it's a state of being we all long to be in. And in this ayah 28 of Surah 13, we are told from the beginning, those who believe and whose heart find their itmi'nan, their inner peace, their reassurance, their tranquility in the remembrance of God. For truly, only in the remembrance of God do hearts find their itmi'nan, their inner peace and reassurance and tranquility. So this is like a big thing. It's saying like this thing that everyone is longing for, everyone is actually most of our activities in this world are motivated by this, trying to reach this state of being. And we are told, lo and behold, this state of being, you can only reach it, attain it, through remembering God. And of course, in the first part of the ayah, we are told, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So those who believe and their hearts find this, are calmed, and find this tranquility and this inner peace. So, bidhikrillah, mentioning God, is not merely saying God with the tongue. Saying God with the tongue is a reminder. We need to remember, and we can only remember what we know. And so we need to first learn to know God with his beautiful names. His beautiful names are connected to all the goodness that we long for and that we are created to be in love with. We love all this goodness, and all what we love is connected to the beautiful names of God. Once we make that connection, then our love for the world, our love for the things is transformed into a love for God. And that's why we are told in some places in the Quran that how do you say? إنما المؤمنون truly the or إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم. Believers are only those whose hearts tremble with awe whenever God is mentioned. So when God is mentioned, the believer's heart trembles with awe. It means there is a heart connection. They love God and they have a reverence, an awe, because they know him. They already have experienced his beautiful names in this world. And the more we experience his beautiful names, as we've seen in the past windows, as well as in the sixth word, there is much awe and praise and gratitude and thankfulness to God. And so the ayah is, for instance, in Surah Al-Anfal, Surah 8, ayah 2, believers are only those whose heart tremble with awe whenever God is mentioned, and whose faith, whose iman is strengthened whenever his ayat are conveyed onto them, and who in their Rabb, in their sustainer, place their trust. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And again in Surah 22, Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 35, we're also told those whose hearts tremble with awe whenever God is mentioned, and who patiently bear whatever ill befalls them, and who are constant in prayer and spend on others out of what we, God, provides them as sustenance. So they are aware that whatever they are sharing with others, whatever they are giving, material or immaterial, physical or non-physical, is not theirs. It is being given to them. It is provided by God. So they give it in his name consciously. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, the believers, Surah 23.
Interject something with this verse that you have just mentioned. You know, those whose hearts tremble with awe whenever God is mentioned.
Yes.
And then right after that, وَالصَّابِرِينَ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَهُم.
Yes.
They all patiently bear whatever befalls them. And these two are connected. If we get to know our Rabb, then whatever comes from him, because everything ultimately comes from him, then we have more capacity to bear it because we know that it's coming from
because we trust. As in ayah 8:2, it says, وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ.
Yeah.
They trust in their Rabb. Only in their Rabb they trust, actually, the Arabic is.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, definitely, it's as you said. As we know God, but this knowing is not just information about God, but it's a knowing that the heart is connected to God in a way that when God is mentioned, it's like you feel it. I mean, if you miss someone that you really appreciate and you really love and care for, and you haven't seen them for a while. When you hear they are coming to visit you, you feel suddenly very joyful. You feel something in your heart, you feel touched, you feel moved. So how about, can you imagine when God is mentioned? Subhanallah. Yeah, definitely. So it becomes easier to go through difficult situations because we trust that He does not create anything in vain without meaning and without wisdom and without compassion and mercy. And of course, when we know God this way, we are not limited and by the transient world. If we are limited by the transient world, there is no way we can be patient because we expect everything in this world as if it's the end, as if there is nothing beyond. It means we truly have not reflected on its transience, because its transience is a reality that we experience every day, but we're scared of it, and so we don't stay with it. And if it's only when we stay with it, we will feel the need for permanence, and that's when we will find the path of permanence within impermanence. In Surah 23, starting from 57 to 60 or 61, we are told, truly, only they who stand in reverent awe of their Rabb, their sustainer, and who believe in their sustainers' signs, ayat, and who do not commit shirk. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِرَبِّهِمْ لَا يُشْرِكُونَ. The emphasis, the way it is phrased in Arabic, it's like they do not commit shirk. It means they know their Rabb and no shirk. And who give whatever they, whatever they give with their hearts trembling with awe at the thought that unto their Rabb, their sustainer, they are returning. And in 61, we are told it is they, these people, who vie with one another in doing good works, and it is they who outrun in attaining to them. So it's also defining what good work is. If it's not done with this state of being, even if it's good, if it's transient, if there is no connection to the eternal permanent source, then it becomes useless. So last week, we mentioned how this 11th window looks to the heart as well as to reason. So shirk, which is ascribing partners onto God without realizing, mostly without realizing, is precluded because it goes against sound reasoning when we reason and when we question it and reason in the way we are taught in the Quran consciously. And also shirk is precluded because it contradicts the heart's deepest longings and desires. And if you remember in the 11th window, we were told if we do not attribute everything to God, then it implies that we are attributing the existence of every single thing to innumerable causes. This is important because you say, I am not doing that unless I am consciously attributing everything to God, unconsciously I am attributing the existence of every single thing to all kinds of causes around it, unconsciously. That's why ghafla, heedlessness, is condemned in the Quran repeatedly. So we have to consciously attribute everything to God, otherwise unconsciously we are in the other, in shirk. So it's either or. Either we are in a state of tawheed, attributing everything to one single God consciously, or if we are not conscious, it means we are unconscious, we are mindless. And when we are mindless, because we are not attributing everything to God, without realizing, we're assuming as though they are happening on their own, things are helping each other, having an effect on each other, and whatever.
Dr. Yamina, I want to, this is a very important point because it looks like, it doesn't look like this. It looks like as if, I don't know how to put it, but like here it says, you are implying if you don't attribute everything to one God, then you are implying that one thing exists because of innumerable causes. But in our everyday perception, it doesn't feel like that. It feels as if I am just attributing this one thing to this other thing. The domino effect, the domino. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Domino, as those little, what are they called? Stones.
Dice.
So like one hits the other hits the other. So it doesn't look like you need everything for this one thing to happen. Just need this thing to push that one, and that thing that pushes that one. And so
assuming a chain.
Yeah, a chain. And so it doesn't feel like, it feels like I am attributed to my parents, and then they're attributed to their parents. And then, okay, in the very beginning, maybe we need a God to start it all. But once it gets started, it looks like things are able to make each other. That is how it seems. So that's why it's extremely important to kind of zoom in and slow down and reflect and recognize the interconnectedness of things. I once was reading an article about, it was a technical article about causality, but they weren't talking about God at all, but they were just trying to talk about what causes what and how can we philosophically describe causality. And what is interesting is that the person said, because everything is interconnected, when you say I'm drinking a cup of coffee, you need you need the gravity, the earth to revolve, everything else should be cooperating for you to sit down and drink a cup of coffee. But he said we can't say that. When you say, in that case, you're not drinking the coffee because you're not making everything else. So he was trying to find a way to talk about causality that doesn't imply everything, because he said if we say causality means all the conditions are being met, there are so many conditions, and definitely when you're drinking coffee, you're not meeting those conditions. You're not making sure the gravity is staying and the molecules
are not even aware of what's going on.
So it was interesting that they weren't talking at all about, in the larger sense, where does this really take us, or they weren't talking about God in any way. But that dawned on me because I've been coming to the halakas for a long time, and you keep saying interconnectedness, and then I was like, okay, maybe is it that way? And it is really that way. And it was amazing, this person, to, in a completely different subject, to admit that even when you drink a cup of coffee, there's so much things involved that it's hard to say you're making them happen. And in that sense, he said you can't really say I'm the cause of drinking, and yet we want to say that. So they were trying to find it out. So I guess we need to really pause and think that it appears that there are some predominant things that we notice, right? For a car to move, or for me to be born, there seems to be some immediately visible causes. My parents, or wind is required, for this plane to move, and so on. But as we look closer, it's so interconnected that it can't be just you need one or two things for this thing to happen. And that is why we have a choice between either everything is getting together and is making this thing, and then that creates the problem, that brings up the problem of how do they talk to each other and arrange each other, right? Especially
And
in the case of
but
living
also, as Imam Nursi says somewhere else, like each one of them has to be both at the same time, has the power to control everything and subjugate everything, and be subjugated by everything else. Each one of them has to be a god, because somehow it's making everything coming to its help. So somehow it's controlling them. But at the same time, because every cause is an effect at the same time, the cause of something is an effect of something else. So that's what shirk is precluded when we start reasoning. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, and the way in this paragraph it makes it easier to understand is that um, it gives an analogy of one soldier. If you have 100 officers, then even managing one soldier will be hard. I mean, eh, thinking about a parenting example, if you have two parents at the same time at home and they have different ideas of sleep time, like something as simple as how much.
Or cooking. Can you imagine if you have 10 cooks to cook one soup? That soup will be, and everyone has a different idea of how the soup should be.
Yeah, or think about those of us who attend department meetings or other kind of team meetings and so on, where you know unless there's a very clear order of things, everybody says something and something gets just add the person adds this, and you can say, I'm about to come to that, just 1 second. Like it's even then, it's like, even when we have an agenda and we have a department chair and so on, things can get a lot complicated and take so much time. I was Sometimes you think, like, if we were just one person, this would have been, or like just two people. Like, the more it's involved, the more it gets complicated, and you really need. That's why in large companies or large groups, you always need um, the head, and then the head of a head, and the head of a head. Like, for it to be streamlined, you need to introduce unity at every level, because the process, as the process gets unified, then it becomes fruitful. If everybody is going in one direction, even if they're all geniuses, it doesn't help. So these are some just metaphors. I appreciate these metaphors that he gives to make it easier to us to understand that unity is implied by this interconnectedness of of things in the world, and the fact that they are following patterns and are in cooperation with each other.
Usually we are not aware that's what we are doing by default, because can you imagine? That's why we can't find that inner peace, because even we are not aware of this, somehow we have different rubs to turn to. If I have an illness now, medication, science, doctors, I don't know, different things are involved that I am looking to for healing, for instance. If I need to provide for myself, maybe money, maybe work, maybe something will seem as sources of help and benefits for me. So even when we are not aware of what we are doing technically, for the heart, it becomes overwhelming, because we have to seek help from different seeming sources that seem to us like sources. And when we become aware that all of them are being created and nothing can benefit me from its own, because itself needs to be sustained, then there is a deep relief for everything, all our needs. We need only to turn to one single source. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. We worship only you, because We seek help only from you, because everything we need is with you alone. And that's why he says, therefore, it is crucial to confirm the oneness of the Creator and to know God, because we cannot confirm the oneness. Confirm means we are sure, we have yaqeen, we have certainty, unless we know God as the sole, the only maker of every single thing. Everything means every single thing, not only everything generally, and then every single thing we distribute it among causes without realizing. That's because we have not done the work consciously. I mean, if it were something like they say, Islam is in the fitra, true, it's in the fitra, but that fitra is like a seed. It needs to be nurtured. Like a seed needs to be planted and you nurture it and it grows. And that's why we need the guidance of the Quran. That's why God sends the prophets to help us in the path. So we need that. We need divine guidance in order. And so there is, and that's what it's our main job, our main purpose in this life, in this world, in this journey, is to know who we are and who our sustainer is, because everything depends on it. Our every single breath, our life, and everything else that is connected to our life is therefore in his hand. So we better know who he is.
Yamina,
Yeah.
there is a comment, I think.
Sure.
Sister Natila, would you like to explain what you mean?
Assalamu alaikum. Just was emphasizing, the needs to kind of become more familiar for all and person with the tools of logic and reasoning. So there is like a need for, I guess individually for all of us to kind of, use the tools a bit more, when thinking about, things that are necessary, possible, impossible. It's a language that I feel like we, personally, I didn't grow up with. So later on, I was exposed more to, using this kind. So, and I feel, it was beneficial for me personally.
Yes, thank you. Alhamdulillah. Yes, we do need to become more familiar and to use these tools. That's how guidance starts. It starts with the reasoning, and this is a reasoning of the heart. You remember in the sixth word, we learned that when we are consciously following divine guidance and following the reasoning that we learn from the Quran, then all the tools that are given to us, our seeing, our hearing, our reasoning, our tasting, everything will be a tool used to under the control of the heart that is seeking the presence of God. When we are not doing that consciously, then unconsciously, without realizing, we are using all the faculties given to us in the name of the deluded ego that imagines or fancies itself to be separate and independent of God, not denying God, but as if it exists separately from God. And this is a journey of tawheed, of unifying. Unification is going to happen in the outer world and in parallel in the inner world, until we realize that everything is from one only. And so we start using all our faculties in the name of the sustainer, in the name of the one who is giving it to us. And that's why we need the guidance of the Quran, because that's the optimum way to use our free will in the best way to find fulfillment, to find inner peace, tranquility in this world and in the next, like forever. And that's why he says here at the end of the paragraph, he says clearly, okay, it is crucial to confirm the oneness of the Creator and to know God as the sole maker of everything. Indeed, it is only through knowing God as the sole creator that human beings can be saved from the endless torments that arise from the curiosity and desire for truth inherent in their nature. Clearly, the path of denial, kufr, and associating partners with God is precluded and baseless, since why? Because it involves manifold difficulties and pains. So not only it's difficult, reason it doesn't make sense, it's impossible actually when you think about it, but it's also very painful. So even when we, at the beginning, when we don't know yet that it is difficult and it doesn't make sense, we look still for guidance and for help because of the pain. And that pain is the rahmah, because it is guidance telling us, you know, you're on the wrong path. Carrying on, he says, whereas there is limitless ease, yusr. We are told in the Quran, like when you follow the path of God, it's the path of ease. Ease in confirming divine oneness in Tawheed. An ease that corresponds to the ease, abundance, and excellent artistry observable in the creation of beings. Without doubt, the path of divine oneness is necessary, and it is the truth. You see how dark and painful the path of misguidance, dalala, is. Why do you insist on following it? Look how easy and joyful the path of belief, of iman and tawheed is. Enter that path and be saved. So there is ease and joy in tawheed and pain and hardship in shirk.
Okay.
And yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the kind of to highlight something that was right here. So this difficulty, just to highlight more, that it's extremely difficult and complicated for numerous diverse causes to converge to produce one single thing. And this is something we mentioned already, but I wanted to highlight the difficulty here is a difficulty of possibility. Like it's a very, very difficult thing. So to the point of being impossible for all of these things to converge to produce a single thing. And we can, the beautiful thing is that we can pick anything pretty much and reflect on it. We don't have to think about everything in the world at the same time, which is impossible for us to do. Well, like just noticing my skin on my hand, for instance, that for this skin to be put forth, you know, in this particular way that's all over our bodies, it is so many things are working for this to happen. It isn't just, you know, it falls from somewhere. It's a matter that just it is, you know, in this part. I mean, there's we don't even notice it because it's all we always only when it starts cracking or, you know, sometimes it's dry. Then you
It's
know,
not happening haphazardly. It's following laws and order. And
yeah, only when there's a disorder, then you go to doctor or something happens and you're like, okay, your body is not producing enough fat, or it's not producing this, or it does. It's like, what I didn't even know it was implied, like a skin to be like on your fingers for that, or your all your body, that is protecting you from you know, outside world, you know, helping you maintain a temperature or whatever, and then for it to be all these linings and layers of cells. And for people do sometimes try ridiculous to try to explain how this could have evolved or happened by itself. And even a skin, you need it to be coded in the DNA, you need it to be produced these cells and lined up, and they somehow have to follow a map that we don't know where, but there's a map that they follow. There's a pattern, and it's extremely difficult to really leave it to natural causes, that somehow the cells and the body and the brain and the nervous system, and so all of them somehow get together, put these layers, and then put the nerve endings necessary for the skin and so on. It's impossible.
They know your past and your future and everything.
And then they know that, you need to also have nerve cells, because then you can,
they all work in harmony with each other.
Yeah, you don't burn your skin, right?
But each of them is unconscious, doesn't have anything, doesn't have.
Yeah, and they come together, they work for you, just for your skin. And you don't just have one skin, you also have vessels. You don't get them one by one, you get them all at the same time, and they're maintained. Mm-hmm. Every now and then we do have some imbalance in the body, we eat something too much, or the temperature, but these are, compared to what's going perfectly in the body, these are just some reminders for us to notice how delicate and incredible the balance is. And so the difficulty here is the difficulty of obtaining such a result by really turning it over to natural causes. And if we pause to reflect on it, really the heart immediately can recognize, no, it can't be happening, that these causes are somehow getting together and somehow doing this. We just need to pause. As you always say, ghafla doesn't require pausing. You're just sleeping. We just have to wake up, because the way we think in everyday life and talk everyday life, and the way we are socialized and we are educated in our science classes, it is as if it just somehow things come together and do things. It's not like that. And so the choice is, either all of these causes are getting together and somehow semi-divine, they are doing things, or there is a creator who employs all of them and under full control of everything. And these are our two choices. And one is ease, and that's also beautiful, the part that you just read. There is limitless ease in confirming divine oneness, and ease that corresponds to the ease, abundance, and excellent artistry observable in creation of things.
Everything comes out spontaneously, so easily. If it were the way mechanically done in the way we imagine, it wouldn't be happening this way.
Yeah, and I think partly it's the ease that we get confused about. It's so abundant and so easy. Like, look at the grass. We can't make a cell of a grass, and yet they're everywhere. You step on them. Human beings, so many of them are born every day. So many of our bodies are constantly in flux and changing and maintained. It's so easy in that sense and abundant that we think, well, it just somehow happens, People get
either it is an evidence to endless power, or we just say it's just happening. I don't know. Like, I don't want to think about it as if. Yeah. Subhanallah.
And then connecting to the joy part is very interesting, because if it is in all one hand, then because it makes sense, the heart says, okay, this makes sense. And also that relieves us because we are interconnected. So in many places in the Risale-i-Nur, Imam Nursi talks about how human heart can't settle for anything less than the creator of everything, because we are worried about everything. I'm for me to be well right now, I need the universe to be in shape. The climate.
And not only now, I want it to be always.
Yeah, and then I want eternity and endless. One of our neighbors, he used to walk his dog by the park nearby, so we used to see him a lot. And my husband recently ran into him, and he said his dog died. And we felt sad. He was an old dog, and my son used to play with him sometimes. He said he was still sad. He teared up. He's an older old man. And I know I'm even scared of dogs a little bit, but I felt like this dog dying, it hurt me in a way. Like, wow, we long for even our companions, animal companions, to be again with us. we're not set. We need someone who can take care of all of our needs. That's why the heart is becomes mutma'in, becomes in peace when the heart recognizes that everything is in the hands of one, who's my Rabb. Easy, it makes sense logically, and the heart finds its rest, because then I can turn to this one instead of hoping that these blind forces are somehow going to come up with something that will satisfy me and my loved ones, and my loved ones, dogs and everything. You want everything to be in place, and that's the only way is tawheed.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And last week, the emphasis was, if we want to reap the benefits of Iman, of belief in one God, and live in ihsan, in the presence of God, and see wajh Allah, the countenance of God, the aspect of things that look to the beautiful, eternal, beautiful names of God here and now, and live in that inner peace and tranquility and calmness, in that grounded in the presence of God, then we need to do the work, because Iman is not simply not denying God. Not denying God is only the beginning. Iman is to know God, to recognize Him with His beautiful names through His creation. The creation, we are told, they are ayat. So it's not something that we can avoid. Iman needs to be cultivated by following the guidance of the Quran and striving and intending. It has to be intentional. It's a choice to make the decision to live with Iman. So we first have to do something to be given. We have to consciously do the La ilaha part so that illallah is revealed unto us, and to live with that reality, with that truth, consciously, mindfully, here and now. So we need to do the work that all the faculties, like reasoning, seeing, hearing, tasting, everything, are so that they all perform consciously, they fulfill their purpose of being given to us, which is to know our Rabb as our only provider, sustainer, host, compassionate, loving, all-knowing, the one who controls everything. And so then we will ask help from Him alone, and we will adore and love and worship Him alone. And only then the heart will find that itmi'nan, the tranquility and reassurance and inner peace, as we are told in ayah 28 of Surah Al-Ra'd. If you look at the context of this surah, some of the ayats that come before ayah 28, Surah Al-Ra'd, Surah 30, is a surah that we studied together. We reflected on its wisdom, some of its wisdom, of course. If you look at the first ayat, ayah 1 and 2, we are told, Alif Lam Mim Ra, those are the ayat, the signs of the book, and what your Rabb, what your sustainer has sent down to you is the truth. Yet, most people do not believe. This is coming after Surah Yusuf. Surah Yusuf is Surah 12, and towards the end of Surah Yusuf, we are told that most people believe in God only in a state of shirk. Illa wa hum mushrikun. And so here it says, أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Most people don't believe. I mean, they think they believe in something, but actually they don't. And right after, this is typical of the Quran, we are told who God is then, because we don't want to just hear, okay, most people don't believe, but I want to believe. So tell me. So it says here who God is. So the second ayah is, God is he who has raised up the heavens without any support that you can see. And then he is established on the throne, and he has made the sun and the moon subservient, each running its course for a term set. He, God, regulates all that exists. He makes the ayat, the signs, clear, so that you will be certain of meeting your Rabb. لعلكم بلقاء ربكم توقنون. توقنون, you have yaqeen, you have certainty. Not maybe, I'm not sure, or I'm a Muslim, so I don't deny it. No, you have to know what it is to be certain of it. So here, in the second ayah, يدبر الأمر يفصل الآيات. He regulates everything, and by this he is making the ayat clear to us by wisely planning, ordering, regulating all that exists. And one example was Isra talked about the skin, but you can take anything in the creation. They are all ordered and regulated with wisdom and with all kinds of, with purpose that leads to benefits. So he makes the ayat, this is how he makes the ayat clear. So it is clear from the way beings and all kinds of events and phenomena come into being that their maker is one, because their regulation is one. They all follow universal laws. So clearly they are all proceeding from one source, the master of the universe, the sustainer, the controller of all the universe is one, and the throne of power belongs to him. That's why I say, ثم استوى على العرش. He is established on the throne. And so wherever we look, whatever you consider points to one single source of power and governance and regulation. And we reflected on many things, including especially water and how it exists, or the skin, how it exists in interconnection with everything else, all other beings. And how, for instance, with water, for me, it's like, I understand why in the Quran it's mentioned again and again. It's such a beautiful ayah. It enters, this lifeless, unconscious water enters all human beings, all living beings, all animals, all insects, all plants, and it acts as if it knows everything, as if in everything it acts perfectly. Subhanallah, as Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh, he says, as if each one has an eye that sees everything and understands everything. So, like, clearly, they are either each knows everything and acts perfectly without any mistake in everything. So it is itself a God that is omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful, or it is acting at the command of one who knows everything. This is what Imam Nursi always repeats. It's either or, and it's a tafsir of different ayahs, like in Surah Yusuf. He says, is one owner better or different having different arbab, different lords that are all at how do you say, they contradict each other. Each one has different mind, which is easier, for instance. And in
Dr. Yamina, that's 1239. It's on the screen now. This is a perfect connection with the verse, with the passage we're looking at, because, you know, exactly that's what we were talking about, that how there's ease in one Rab as opposed to many.
I mean, ayah 13 comes after ayah 12. So it's actually
Surah.
an explanation. All the surahs, surah 13 and surah 12, all the surahs are connected to each other.
Could
So,
we read this verse, Dr. Yamina?
sorry?
Could you read the verse in case, so that we can...
Go ahead, you can read it, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله يا صاحبي سجني أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. All my companions in imprisonment, which is more reasonable? Lords, each of them different from the other, or the one God who holds absolute sway over all that exists. أأرباب متفرق خير أم الله الواحد القهار. So it's خير here, it is not just which one is better, it's both. Which one is your heart is at ease, which one, and which one is more reasonable.
Yes.
That's exactly what the passage 11th window was trying to explain in different ways.
And look at now 13, back to Surah Al-Ra'd, Surah 13, Ayah 3. It says, it is, and it is. So it says most people don't believe, and now it's telling us who God is in Ayah 2, and Ayah 3, carrying on who God is. And it is He, God, who has spread the earth wide and placed on it firm mountains and running waters, and created thereof two genders of every kind of fruit. And it is He who causes the night to cover the day. Truly, in all this, there are ayat, signs for people who reflect. So we need to reflect. I mean, if it's told to us and we never reflect on what it is telling us, it's like someone gave me the map. I say, we have the map to the best treasure in the world. Yeah, but I never use the map and I don't have any treasure. I have to, if I have the map, I have to go and walk and follow the signs and find the treasure.
Dr. Yamin, I wanted to share something. I think 2 years ago, receiving Nur, there was this video reflecting on the fly, as it is mentioned in one of the Quranic passages. It's a kind of a very rich video in a space of 8 minutes. It kind of summarizes a lot of the halakas that we have. It's in the sound of dear Sarah Alam, who put it together. And so this could be a good resource if anyone would like to visit after the halakha. If you type the miracle of the fly, or how fly glorifies its maker, it's part of Receiving Nur channel. Please take a look. It's a rich reflection on just the fly and how everything is interconnected, and how even a tiniest thing has to go back to one creator.
Alhamdulillah. So if you look at Ayah 3 in Surah Al-Ra'd, then it's like in Ayah 2. It's also referring to the activities of creation in the world as ayat, and it is inviting us to reflect on those activities. And why there is this repetition, not only in this surah, but in every surah, again and again, whenever it says they don't believe, they commit shirk, and then it says God who creates, who does, who. Why this repetition? Because it's very important. Repetition means it's something, it points to the importance of something. It means we need it. We need to do this again and again. And that's why not only it's repeated in the Quran, but it's created every day. It's not you have not created this in vain. So if it's created every day, it means every day I need to reflect again and again. But why do I need to reflect? Because I need it. The ruh needs it. Just like our physical body needs water and liquids and food and air. So the ruh needs reflection on the ayat of God, and it needs remembering God like air. Like we need air, we need that. So when we read or when we listen to this ayah 3 of Surah 13, in a way it requires that we go out in the world and actually read and listen to the ayat of creation, the creational ayat. We need to reflect on the creation of the earth, the mountains, the rivers, the alternation of night, of day and night. And these ayat, this creational ayat in the creation, are a kind of divine speech. Imam Nursi says God speaks in through the Quran, through human speech, and through the creation, through creation. And actually, the Quran makes sense only because it explains something that we see in the world. If God says, I am the provider, but we don't know what provider is, we have no interaction with providing. So the fitra, we have been created with the notion of providing, and we are being provided for. That's why we say, yes, Sadaqallahu al-Azim, we confirm what God says in the Quran is indeed the truth. So if we are, whoever is interested in grasping, in understanding and confirming the message of Ayah 3, for instance, of this surah, we need to go out in the world and reflect on, as this ayah instructs us. We have to follow the instructions of the ayah. And that's a proper tafsir. Our experience will be the tafsir of the ayah. Because when we go out and we feel the awe, that's not something that will be written to in the ayah, because I have to experience it. When I go and do it, I will understand that this, yes, this is God. And then whenever God is mentioned, the heart of the the believers are only those that when God is mentioned, their heart trembles in awe. Otherwise, we will not be doing justice to this Quranic ayat. So we need to actually reflect. This is something we need to do on a daily level. We need to do it daily. We need to decide and make it. It's our purpose in life. That's what we're told in the Quran. And if we don't understand what it means, how is it related to me? Why should I care about who God is? Again, go back to here and now. My life depends on, is tied to my breathing, and who is making me breathe. I need to know. If you really think you don't know, it means you are not really listening to your heart and your true inner needs. And so reading the ayat in the creation is something that we need to learn. We're not born with it. It is reasonable once it is taught to us in the Quran. It makes sense. However, we cannot get it on our own, otherwise there would be no need for the Quran. Whatever the Quran it's taught to us in the Quran is something that we cannot find on our own. We need the guidance of the Quran. And that guidance is so fitri, it's so much in alignment with our needs. It's so reasonable, it's so soothing that when we understand it, we say, yes, that's it. So we readily confirm it. So reading the ayat in the creation is like, imagine if someone doesn't have a sense of language, never heard sense of reading and writing, let's say. They speak but they never heard that you could write and read what you speak. So if you show them a written message, never they will think this is a message, because they have no idea that language can be written and read. And so they will see scribbles, and what they see is correct, it is scribbles. But those scribbles have meaning and they can be read. That's exactly what the Quran teaches us. Without the Quran, what people assume is that the creation, everything, existence, everything in its existence, we like it, we don't like it, it's there, that's it. And then suddenly in the Quran, we are told, no, 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 they have meaning, they are glorifying God, they can be read, they can be understood. So it's science says they are scribbles. This scribble, this is like a circle. This is the angle of it's a 90L. This is a two segments with a 90 degrees angle in between. Correct, but you didn't say anything. Correct, but although it is correct, it is a reduction of the purpose of the creation. It is actually totally putting a veil and covering the purpose of the creation. Kufr is to cover, kafara, to cover the truth. So by stating something that is outwardly, yes, it's correct, it's scribbles and this, that, but at the same time, you can say it's a lie, because those scribbles are not just scribbles. It's missing the most important point, which is they are meaningful, they are language, they have meaning. They have meaning, they have purpose. So if someone brings a message and says, there are, I don't know how many circles, all the O's, counts the O's and say, there are 10 circles, 20 something. And, okay, it's correct, but you missed the whole point. So you see, this is the big difference between not being aware, living as though things were just sitting there randomly, haphazardly, and realizing that everything has a purpose, meaning, following order, harmonious, all interconnected with each other to point to the beautiful names of God. That's a huge difference, and it's something that we need to learn. And unless we learn this, we will stay in shirk, whether we like it or we don't. We will stay in shirk because we don't know what's going on around us. We may feel something is going on, like things seem meaningful. Yeah, but what is the meaning? And again, there is no neutral state. When we do not live mindfully, intentionally, we are living mindlessly in ghafla. And so look at ayah 4 of Surah 13. Again, it carries on. It was saying God does this, that. Now it's saying directly, looking at the creation and teaching us how to reason. Because he said, they are ayat, they are ayat, they are ayat. In ayah 4 of Surah 13, we are told, and there are in the land neighboring plots, gardens of vineyards, cornfields, palm trees in clusters or otherwise, all watered with the same water. Yet we make some of them taste better than others. We prefer one over the others. Truly, there are ayat, there are signs in this for people who reason. إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يعقلون. like when you look at it, you say, okay, same water, different taste. How does it seem to you? Okay, before I share, how does it seem to you? Same water, different tastes. Just share how you feel about it. Same water, but all these fruits, they all have the same water, but different taste. Even the same, like
soil.
even
The soil is the same. The dirt that it grows in.
yes,
is the same. And you have 3-4 things growing in one little flower bed, you know, and they're all different vegetables, and yet they're growing from with completely different taste, color, flavor, everything. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Yes, this is a beautiful ayah.
So anyone who is like I'm thinking about myself when I first read it, it was like there was a big question mark. And of course, I always say, be honest, be honest.
Do you mean like when
Unless we are honest, the Quran is not going to reveal itself onto us. If we say, okay, yes, if God is saying it, it must be so. And so even if I have any doubt or questions, I just cover them up, then I won't have that itmi'nan, that peace, because the ayah won't reveal its message to me. But when we are honest, even if we have to wait for days or weeks or something, as long as our our intention is to understand and to follow the guidance, we will be guided bi'idhnillah, inshallah.
So you mean by honest, like asking the question, like, because one part of it is like, oh yes, they're watered the same water, but each plant is its own DNA. Each plant has its own, like, you know, signature. So it doesn't matter if they are like watered with the same water. Like
That's
I
what
have
I thought
twins.
first.
Yeah, I have twins. They're in the
Seemed,
same uterus, but
very
everyone is
naive.
different. Yeah.
Doesn't seem naive at first sight. Like,
It does.
yes, or the same water, but there are so many other factors involved, and some of the factors are different. Does it seem so?
Yeah, but the DNA is like a set of instructions, and basically it's working with the same ingredients.
Then, but it's only when we
tomato,
accept this, then we can go a step ahead. So first time for me, it was like, it seems so naive. Of course, there are other things involved. And then so what is involved actually? So exactly, now we can apply this reasoning to any other elements that come to our mind, whether DNA or the seeds are different, or anything you can think about. We can apply the reasoning again and again until we come down, if we are talking about physical constituents, then we are coming down to atoms and electrons, for instance, and they are all the same, right? Made of the same things. So the basic ingredients are the same. What is different is non-physical. Does it make sense? The instructions, Isra, you were talking about, is different. Anyone wants to share something?
I guess the first impressions is what Dr. Yamina is asking. When you read the first verse, what is the first thing that comes to your mind, even if it's a doubt or a skeptical, you know?
The more honest we are, the more it opens up.
But maybe it doesn't come that way, but I don't know, like,
to me, it was like, it seemed, isn't that a little bit naive? Like, it's not only water that's involved here, there's so many things. And then when I stopped and said, yeah, okay, so many things. For instance, whatever I thought of, it could be reduced to some common ingredients. For instance, at the end of the day, as the physical elements, they are all the same, they are atoms.
And even if we don't go down to the atoms, they are all a mixture of some minerals, some water,
Exactly.
some sunshine.
Yes.
Like
So
what is
they
in
are all the same. So
not
it's
like a taste, like DNA.
exactly the same constituents are used. Like the recipe is different, but the ingredients are all the same. It's like you enter a bakery, they are all made of flour, sugar, and few ingredients, but each cake or pies or cookies, and they're all different, they taste differently, they have different consistencies and everything. What does it mean? It means it's not in the ingredients. The ingredients may be the same, but they are arranged differently. They are put together differently. So the difference does not stem from the physical factors, but from the order, the combination that requires choice,
Even
will,
the bakery example
purpose.
doesn't fully go, because in the bakery, I can say I put cranberries in this and I put walnuts in this. But here, it's not even that different. Like what is put
Let's say only things that are made from the sage. Only an example, of course.
and because they don't come out too different. Like if your basic ingredients are all the same, their tastes are not going to be that different. This one might be more sugary, less sugary, but it's not going to be one tastes like apricot and the other one tastes like lettuce. Like
Not only they taste different, but their forms are different, they look different, the colors are different, and basically the ingredients are the same. However, the order, the combination, the arrangement are different, and this requires choice. Someone is choosing, there is will, someone is willing to put things in different ways. There is purpose here, and this is indicated in the verb وَنُفَضِّلُ بَعْضَهَا عَلَى بَعْضٍ, and we make some, we prefer some to make them taste better than others. So you can see that there is clearly a purpose and a will. Someone is making things different. And this can be applied to everything, because physically they all are made of similar ingredients. All beings, living in animate beings and inanimate beings, subhanallah. So can you see, this is a reasoning that we learn from the Quran. And if we go a little bit down afterwards, from 12 to 16, it's talking about shirk and tawheed. If you look at 13, 12, it says, it is he, again, it is God, who shows you the lightning, inspiring fear and hope, and he builds up clouds heavy with rain. These are all very important, because honesty, for me, honesty is, I don't see, if when I look at the clouds, I see just clouds coming together. This is what we were talking about when we were reading the text by Nursi, the 11th window. Then it means I have not done the work of Iman. I have not done the work. There is no Iman there. I'm seeing clouds coming on their own. It's saying it is He, it is God who builds clouds. So when I look at the clouds, do I see God? How do I see God? Of course, with His beautiful names. Do I see how the building, the process of the clouds is indicating many beautiful names that belong to Him alone? If I'm not seeing that, if I have not done the work again and again until it becomes so familiar, it becomes so automatic that whenever I look there, I see Wajh Allah. I don't see just the clouds, I see the clouds mirroring the beautiful names of God. And I say, Subhanallah, Subhanallah amma yushrikun. When I don't see this, I am the one who is the one doing the yushrikun, because I'm seeing clouds on their own. The wind is bringing them, or whatever. It's not God, it can be anything. I am not even aware of what it is. And in ayah 13, sorry, yes.
We have a comment about the previous verse. On the
Sure,
chat, right?
please, go ahead.
Could you say, the person who put it on the chat, are you able to talk? No. Okay.
Okay, someone can read.
Yeah, so it says, actually, we don't need to go down to the atomic level, just going down to the nucleotides level, A, C, T, and G, they make bacteria as well as humans. Just genetic level, yeah, it's the same,
Yes.
Simple structure of 4
Yes, definitely.
nucleotides.
Definitely. Yes. We don't even need to go there, like for how about if we didn't know about those things, like people in the time of
to the most basic level, and then if people want to kind of go
any
deep,
level you want to go.
yeah, you're a physicist, quantum physicist, so you go to atoms, that's your more expertise. Biologists, physicists, they go to the genetic level.
But we don't have to even go there.
Yeah, and the most basic.
Someone said the soil.
Yeah,
It's
soil, water.
all soil, water, air.
Yeah, and then they become.
And then the seeds, if you take them, they're all similar.
Yeah, yeah. So, however, whatever angle we take in the Quranic verse,
SubhanAllah, this logic works at all levels.
Yes, yes. And thank you, Brother Mohsin, for sharing this.
Yes, alhamdulillah. So, but you see that once it is taught to us, we say, yes, makes sense. And it brings inshirah, like the heart expands and there is joy. And it's something that it's so exciting. You can apply it every day in everything until we will start seeing things that way. And that's how we will see them as what they are. Yet they are all indicating divine power, divine will, divine purpose, divine wisdom, divine knowledge. Subhanallah, mashallah, tabarakallah. Everything will start reminding us of God instead of the world, the dunya, being a veil, being an obstacle to remembering God. Because then we won't be stuck in the dunya, we will be stuck in the aspect of things that look to God, that looks to wajh Allah. Wherever you look, ثم وجه Allah. There you will find God's face, God's countenance. It's a totally different experience of life, of the world.
This is so beautiful, and just what we have just discussed from Surah Rad, the same water but different tastes. You said this gives us a tool that can be applied in so many different ways, but gives us a logic of thinking, and that reminded me of a signature that Imam Nursi talks about in the Risale. A signature of God. One of the signatures of God is to create many things from one thing.
Yes.
And now I'm seeing the connection. He's inspired from these kind of passages.
And one thing from everything, he also said.
Yeah, and this could be, maybe inshallah, we can have this in a workshop or a retreat session where we go through some of these Quranic tools of reasoning, as Natila was suggesting.
We started doing that in the monthly Lanam Diyanet Center meetings. That's what we were doing.
Yeah. Naima wants to join in the conversation.
Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum. I have a couple of things that are stirring in my mind about what's been shared. And Dr. Yamina, you mentioned this expansiveness, which is something that I've been reflecting on, the expansiveness of like our heart and our understanding. And so it made me think about how we are more spiritual souls, or like ruh in our bodies more than our bodies with a ruh, and the parts of ourselves that die really wants to try to rationalize what our spirit knows with yaqeen, because it knew Allah before it entered our bodies. And for me, it makes me think that the goal for us is really to nourish ourselves with the guidance of Allah, of course, and the ayah, to steer our bodies, which are finite, to align with our spirit that goes beyond this body. And so it makes me really think that our spiritual presence should really dominate our physical presence. And I feel like that is tawheed, that's knowing the law, because I feel like our spirit doesn't flake. Like it is the compass, like it's the moral compass that's like, nope, like Allah didn't say that. That doesn't feel right, because I know what Allah wants us. And like in my, it's like our subconscious. And I feel like our ruh doesn't have the same boundaries as our physical bodies. And the expansiveness of our spiritual selves is really what takes us to the next step, understanding that. And that can be understood through knowing the beautiful names of Allah. So I feel like when Allah says that, you know, your bodies will testify against you and will be a witness against you. This is my interpretation. I don't know what's fact. I don't know that it's fact, but this is how I'm processing it. When your bodies will testify against you, it's more of like your bodies are limited, but your spirit knew exactly what it is that you needed to do, but you didn't align with that. And so that is just something that I'm reflecting on, like, why do we really focus on wanting to have this expansiveness in our bodies, like be the best, be the most physically sound and all these things, but don't really shift our focus to the expansiveness of our spirits.
The expansiveness is the expansiveness of the heart, and it's not only the physical heart, but like, yes, the ruh knows God. It's been taught, it comes from God. It's been taught the beautiful names before we come into this physical existence. But knowing God there is a seed, and it needs to be nourished in this physical existence. That's why we are sent to this world. So it's like this world, as the Prophet ﷺ says, it's a nursery for akhirah. So it's a nursery where we're going to nurture the ruh. So the physical existence is only, it's a vehicle in many, not only as a container, as a home, but also like in the sixth word, it is through the seeing, the hearing, the feeling, the tasting, that we get to find God in the world and know him better and better. What we do, the work we do, is the La ilaha. The more La ilaha we do, the more illallah is revealed unto us. Now, the La ilaha part, we do it in two spheres simultaneously. We are supposed to do it if it's done consciously. We start with the outer world because it's easier. For instance, here we see that everything is the same water enters different plants. They all taste and look and differently. So we understand that this is happening by divine will, by the will of someone who knows everything, has control over everything, shapes and creates everything, and knows me, because the same thing, I eat it, it tastes different, I don't like it, and someone else says, I like it, it's my favorite. Subhanallah. So it's also someone who knows us. The more, once I get to know God in the outer world as the one who has control, I need to also start submitting and surrendering to this God. If I say, okay, I understand it's God who is doing, it is God. It is the one who is doing this, has all-encompassing power, knowledge, and control over everything. And that's what we call God. And I don't bring that to my inner world, then Tawheed is not going to happen. When I bring that to my inner world, it means whoever is controlling and has power over everything is controlling and having power over me, is the one who is nurturing me and sustaining me. Then to that extent, if I'm willing to do the work of surrendering, of acknowledging that reality and letting go of my false claims, La ilaha in the inner world is I do, I understand, I give, I will get closer to God, I will worship, I am. Why did you say that you don't like me? Why didn't you like what I cooked or what I wrote? What do you mean? And I feel it hurts inside. What do you mean? Mine must be the best. You mean I am not good? It means I is claiming ownership, is claiming rububiyah, is claiming that it is somehow a small mini Rab, just like we were claiming that things out there somehow were responsible for whatever they were. So we need to work on that inside and let go of the false claim, purify the self. When we purify the self and we take that deluded ego away, then the ruh can expand and we will be able to identify with the ruh and live from the ruh and from the heart. So the heart will expand. And we will, if we are living from the ruh, we still live through the body. And that's why being aware of the body is the first step, because most of the time we are not aware of the body because we take the body for granted as though we identify with it. When I feel the body, when I feel that I am tasting something, when I feel joy or anger coming to me, and I say something is coming to me, the body is serving me, is reminding me of something, and that awareness already puts a distance between the two, and without, in the beginning without realizing, but afterwards more and more consciously, we become conscious that we are not the body. Because if I say I am in this room, clearly I am not the room. If I am in this body, clearly I'm not this body. But when we are in ghafla, everything is confused. And that's why we live in kufri or shirki, for the Muslim culture predominantly. And that's why appearance is so important, because we identify with the body. Of course, Allahu Jamilun yuhibbul jamal, but not to the extent of worshipping. Like the priorities get all confused when there is no consciousness, when we are in ghafla. But still, we are created in a body, in a journey in the physical world, and our knowing God is through the physical world, in this physical world, in this physical body. But the more we acknowledge the body as the tools given to us to get closer to God, the more we will live from the ruh. And of course, as I always say, our physical existence is only the tip of the iceberg of who we truly are as ruh. What we will experience, the more we live in the presence of God, in the tasting, experiencing, savoring the beautiful names of God, we will savor them with the ruh and feel them through the heart. So that savoring, that experience is something that will expand more and more and will make our life more and more meaningful, and the heart will be more and more mutma'in, more and more at peace and in tranquility, living in the presence of God. That's ihsan. But we have to do the iman work. Our part is the la ilaha out there. Causes don't create. Someone who is doing all this, that someone is God, and who that God is will then be revealed unto us. Illallah is revealed into the heart that is mirror-like, clean, not filled with shirky elements. And in the inner world, my I, that I is really worships itself so much, as we are told in the Quran again and again. If that I still worships itself, if it worships itself, to that extent, it will project it onto the outer world. That's why that reasoning that we learn from the Quran will apply into the outer world. We get to know God with his beautiful names, and then we have to trust him, surrender to him, let go of our false claims. To the extent that we let go of our false claims, to that extent we will live true Tawheed. To that extent we will let the Ruh truly flourish. Otherwise it won't be, we will be smothering it because we want to claim at its expense. We want to claim things for ourselves, for our deluded selves, because that sense of self is totally based on delusion. It's a lie. That's why shirk is all based on lie. So still, we need to start with La ilaha consciously, actively. That's the work of Tawheed. And that's why we say the Shahada is La ilaha, starts with La ilaha illallah. So the Shahada is not words. The words are supposed to remind us something that we live with, something that constitutes part of our reality, inshallah. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
So you see ayah 12 and 13, we are talking of, Surah Al-Ra'd, Surah 13, we are told it is He, it is God who shows you the lightning, inspiring fear and hope, and He builds up clouds heavy with rain, and the thunder extols His limitless glory, means يُسَبِّحُ الرَّعْدُ بِحَمْدِهِ. How come Ra'd? Either we don't care about it or we are scared of it. Thunder is making tasbih of God, it says. Not only it's making tasbih, it is praising him with praise. Subhanallah, how come? If when I hear thunder, I don't see tasbih and I don't see hamd and I don't hear anything, it means this ayah, I have not followed its guidance. If I follow its guidance, I will hear and understand the tasbih and the hamd, and I will make tasbih and hamd together with them, because I can only glorify God through his creation, not through my imagination. And the thunder extols his limitless glory and praises him, and so do the angels in awe of him. And it is he who lets loose the thunderbolts and strikes with them whom he wills. And yet they stubbornly argue about God, notwithstanding all evidence that he alone has the power to contrive whatever his unfathomable wisdom wills. Subhanallah. 14, the call, the prayer of truth is made to him alone, to God alone. And those whom they call or they invoke instead of God cannot respond to them in any way. It is like someone who stretches his cupped hands towards water, hoping that it will reach his mouth. It never gets there. Water never gets to your mouth just by hoping that will come to you, because it doesn't know you, it doesn't hear, doesn't see, it's unconscious, it's lifeless. Hence, the call of those who deny the truth is all in vain. Is all in vain. There is only one source that answers all prayers, it's God. Anything else, and of course here it's the example is water, but it could be a job, it could be money, it could be I hope this happens, without realizing. So here the example of water can be, we can apply it to everything else. Can water answer our call? Can it quench our thirst? Even if I take it and it seems like, okay, but when I take it, it does quench my thirst. Can it? Does it? Does it know me? Does it know my need? Does it know anything in my body? Because we always drink water and interact with it, and water enters all other beings and things, and we are told that's an ayah. So when we are not aware of the creational ayat, then we are automatically by default in a state of shirk, because we're surmising without being aware of it that water, and you can add food, air, the world, things, people, money, everything can help us, or that they're actually helping us. And we don't realize that they cannot, nothing can help us, and nothing can answer our prayers. Whatever reaches us, whatever benefits us, it is happening by the will of someone who knows our needs and has control over everything, power over everything, knows everything, and has the will and the wisdom and the compassion and the love to answer our needs. Unless we realize this, we are in a state of shirk. This is very, very important. In 15, we are told, before God prostrate themselves all that are in the heavens and on earth, willingly or unwillingly. Here, prostrate means they surrender themselves to the will of God. They follow his laws of creation, his will. As do their shadows in the mornings and the evenings. And of course, the laws of the shadows happen according to laws. And so does water quench my thirst according to laws. And so does everything else. And so does the day and night happen according to all those laws are connected to the laws of divine will, of the divine names of God. It was a window before, I don't know if it was the 8th or the 9th or something. And in 16th, we are told, say, who is the sustainer? Who is the Rabb of the heavens and the earth? Say, it is God. Say, why then do you take for protection other than him, things other than him? Since it is God, why are you asking help from other things? Things that who can neither have the power to bring benefit nor harm even themselves. They cannot even benefit or harm themselves. As we are told somewhere else, they themselves are being created. Say, are the blind and the seeing equal? Or are the depths of darkness and the light equal? Or do they believe that there are partners to God that have created the like of what he creates? So that their creation, the creation of those partners, seems indistinguishable from his? Like, that's why you are confused, because there are things that create. Say, God is the creator of everything. Say, قُلْ اللَّهُ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. It means God is the only creator of everything. If he's the creator of everything, it means There is no other creator. So how can you be confused? And he is the one, the all-compelling. وهو الواحد القهار. So again, in this ayah, you see the tawheed of rububiyyah, the Rabb. Who is the Rabb of the heavens and the earth? It means God is not only the creator at the beginning, but he's the creator always, here and now. There is only one creator. That's it, full stop, absolute. And he is not only the creator, he's the sustainer here and now, meaning he alone gives life, and he sustains that life with whatever it needs, with provision. He's the provider. He knows everything. He has power, control over every single being and every single event. And yet, we still forget this profound reality. Why? Because we never did the work. We just look at we heard the conclusion. He creates everything, but we don't know really what it means. So if we don't really know what it means, and if we haven't done the work through the creation, then the creation will not remind us that he is the creator of everything. And very quickly, we again forget. Even if we write it down, it won't mean much. Even if I kept saying God is the creator of everything, it's better than not, but it doesn't move the heart because I don't know what it means. I don't know who God is. That's not how it is taught in the Quran. Can you see all these ayat? It's not saying, go and say God, 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 God again. Remember God means remember whatever you see the clouds, everything, they are يسبحوا بحمده. It's making tasbih. Can you see? I don't know. Then I have not done the work. This is very, very important. That's why this reality is so profound and so essential to the meaning of our life and to the purpose of our life and to the direction of our life. And yet, we never did the work, so no wonder we find ourselves in a state of shirk. So goodwill is not enough. True goodwill means commitment, means choice, means decision, means like, do we say I really want to work in this profession, this work, but I don't go in the morning, I don't wake up, I don't attend, or I want to graduate from this school, but I don't do the homework, maybe I don't even go to school. That's not goodwill, really. We're just, how do you say, deceiving. That's deceiving ourselves. We need to commit and make a decision and start step by step, but daily, daily, daily. We don't know when we're going to leave this world. So we need to invest in this path, inshallah. And this, that God is the Rabb of everything, and he creates and controls every single thing and event here now, is repeated again and again in the Quran. He is like, it's be and it is. He says be and it is. It reminds me of Surah Al-Ghashiyah, means the overwhelming, Surah 88. If we start from 17, ayah 17 onwards, it says, do they, it's talking about people who deny the resurrection. Do they never gaze at the clouds pregnant with water and observe how they are created, how the clouds are created? أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت? And at the sky, how it is raised aloft, and at the mountain, how firmly they are reared. and at the earth, how it is spread out. So if we know some science, it will increase our awe. But even if we don't know and we go and look, still there is awe. This can't be happening on its own. And they are all harmoniously interconnected with each other. Whoever this is happening through the will of someone who has the power to control everything, has the knowledge of all the things involved. So that this power, this wisdom, this knowledge, whoever they belong to, that is God, Allah, whatever you call him after that, as long as it is connected to the qualities, the power, the knowledge that we see manifested in the creation. And in Surah Nuh is Surah, Nuh, is it 71 or 11? Let's see 71 and see. Sorry, forgot.
71.
71? Okay, I forgot. So I think it was ayah 15. Do you not see how God has created the 7 heavens in full harmony with one another? And in Surah Qaf, Surah 50, in the beginning, like in ayah 6 or something, do they not look at the sky above them? So we don't. At least we don't look this way. How we have built it and made it beautiful and free of all faults. This is something to really reflect on. Look, it's only when I go and look that I'm going to be inspired with things. I will feel things. I will feel them in my heart, in my body, because that's the vehicle. And then with the heart, the soul, the ruh will process them. أفلم ينظروا إلى السماء فوقهم كيف بنيناها وزيناها وما لها من فروج. Subhanallah. So you see here how things and beings and events are being created here and now. That's where we will find the ayah, the signpost that indicates the qualities that belong to God alone. The how things are being created. And only then we will find rest and inner peace and tranquility and reassurance, as we are told in ayah 28. So it is crucial, essential to confirm the oneness of the Creator and to know God as the sole maker and the creator of everything. This was from the text from the 11th window. And the test, how do we do that? How do we know that we have confirmed? We will start making tasbih. And this tasbih, we are going to do it together. As we read the ayat, that reading is, in a sense, a kind of tasbih. 12th window. 12th window starts with سبح اسم ربك الأعلى. Glorify the name of your Rabb, the All High. And of course, in order to be able to glorify God, we need to testify to the glorification of his creation, and that's the 13th window. So in the 12th window, it starts with sabbih, glorify God. You know, during the salat, what we do when we are in a state of sajda, prostration, we say, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. This ayah says, Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la. We say, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. It's an answer to this ayah. And during the ruku', we say, Sabbih isma Subhana Rabbiyal A'azim. again, it's an answer to another ayah. And it's because it was the practice of the Prophet ﷺ as an answer to the two ayat in the Quran. But in order to actually make tasbih, when I'm saying Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, it can't be just words. I shouldn't be repeating like a parrot. I need to know what I'm saying. I need to be actually glorifying God, actually making tasbih. How do we perform tasbih? I think that first condition is we need to know what tasbih is. Unless I know what tasbih, if I don't even know what it means not only a dictionary, what it means, no, what it means in the world, so that I know how to do it. If someone said, stand up, I say, I'm standing up, but actually I'm not standing up, I'm sitting, I don't know what standing up means. They said, stand up, I said, okay, I am standing up. So in a way, it's like the language and the scribbles. I am fulfilling the order. They said, stand up. I'm saying, I stood up, or I'm standing up. So I'm saying I'm obeying. But actually, I'm not obeying because I'm not doing anything. It's like saying, believe in one God. I say, I believe in one God. Make the shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Yes, I said the shahada, but am I making, if I not performing it, it's like someone said, stand up, and I don't know, let's say I don't know, I did not understand what standing up means.
Yamina,
Something like that. So we need to learn what tasbih is. And that's the 12th window, inshallah, next week.
inshallah. What you said reminded me of a discussion that some medieval scholars discussed, some Jewish medieval scholars discussed whether, the first commandment is say your Lord is one, and they discussed whether saying is enough for the commandment, or do you also need to believe it? I mean, I don't mean to generalize all Jewish tradition. This is just some Jewish scholars, but a rabbi had told us this, and she thought that was a profound, thing. But it is actually possible for all of us that, as you were talking about Subhanallah, how do we say Subhanallah in the prayer, and how the Sahaba used to say it, how the Prophet ﷺ used to say it. We are sometimes discussing the pronunciation and so on, which of course you need to pronounce, but
Or are we just saying it, but we don't know what it is?
yeah, so that reminds me of the
it.
discussion. Is it enough? Some people thought that, some Jewish theologians thought that it was enough as a commandment to say that God is one. Part of the commandment was not to believe that God is one necessarily. You just have to say it. How could you even come up with it? But that's the kind of branching, the ultimate end of what we're doing, oftentimes without realizing. Because
Shahada, we say shahada.
Yeah, I said the shahada, and that's enough.
But saying shahada is supposed to remind me of the true shahada. Have I made the shahada?
The witness and the tasbih.
Have I witnessed actually? Otherwise, it's perjury. I'm saying something that I'm not doing.
SubhanAllah, Isra, I'm glad you brought up this point, because throughout the Quran, like the story of Bani Israel and the followers of Moses, and like it's been repeated again and again.
For us.
And it's repeated, so that we don't fall into what they fell in. Like, it's interesting, like, God is one, like, this is the core, and yet they keep drifting away until they are like, not them, but it's for us, like we have the same God is one, but we are drifting away to the point that, like, we don't need to, like, we're saying that we don't need to like believe that God is one. It's enough to say it, because like I don't think any of my education, like, challenged me to face if I do believe it or not. like, you know, so we like, they were
For
actually
granted,
more,
usually it's taken
yeah,
for granted. Everything is built upon the
yeah,
assumption that I know God and I believe in one God, and
yeah,
now let's do this and this and that, which is,
yeah,
yeah, let's do this, but we can't take anything for granted.
yeah, yeah. And they were less hypocrites about it, because they actually came up and say, you know, no, I think we're okay, we just need to say it, we don't need to believe it. But we are more hypocritic about it, because we claim that we believe it, but we just say it. So
Ya Allah,
yeah,
to get to that.
Astaghfirullah. Astaghfirullah.
Amen.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين آمين يا أرحم الراحمين.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina. Jazakallah khair. Just before we leave, I wanted to let everyone of the good news that we are inshallah going to have Receiving Nur winter retreat online, but we will still have it. Mark your calendars for December 24 through December 26 for 3 days, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. We will have the retreat. Our manual are in the works, as you can see on the page. There's still drafting going on, but please mark your calendars for Receiving Nur annual retreat, December 24, 26. Jazakallah khair, everyone.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yamina.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I am new to this, and I have no idea when you say the 12th word or the window, you know, and I wish somebody would give me just a basic explanation so that I could, because I found that I didn't, you know, Maha told me about it, and I had attended a couple of sessions that I didn't understand, you know, one session that just totally I didn't know what it was about. And I thought I need to understand the basics so I can follow, because this was very interesting, mashallah, you know. So I would like to learn from this and inshallah continue doing it, but I don't understand what.
Sarah, can you go ahead?
Yes, Sister Safina, I have a question for you. Are you receiving the newsletter, weekly newsletter?
I don't think so. I just get the notices in the
WhatsApp. In the WhatsApp, we don't get the. I believe we have your email address. We can add you to the list, and sometimes it goes to your promotion or social folder. So it's important that you check your email that way. You can also follow us on Facebook. Basically, it is.
I'm not on Facebook, yes.
The emails may have gone to your junk folder, Sister Safina.
No, I've been checking them pretty regularly.
Receiving Nur and search for it. There, as we have announced there, this chronic wisdom series we started. We've been doing this for years, but this recent session on Windows is from 33rd window. The link is there as well. From Bediüzzaman Said Nursi's text words. And this is an explanation of a Quranic passage about the signs of God in the heaven, in the horizons, outside and inside in our world.
Okay, maybe a clarification. So this is a kind of tafsir on the Quran, not in a, how do you say, chronological order.
Okay.
And the first volume is called Kalimat, the words or words. And so words is the name of the first volume of this tafsir, and it starts with the first word, second word, third word. We did, for instance, before the sixth word, and this is the 33rd word.
Okay.
And within this word, which is reflections on this ayah that's mentioned at the beginning, we will show them our ayat in the horizon and within themselves, until it is clear unto them that this Quran is indeed al-haq, the truth. And inside there are 33 windows. Each paragraph is a reflection on a different area that is like a window onto the truth of the area at the very beginning.
Okay. Well, that
So
makes sense.
there's an organization. That's how it's organized. That's all.
I see. I see. So the first word might have
So
32
on
remedies.
Bismillah, yeah, the first word is on Bismillah, for instance, the
So
meaning of Bismillah.
can we purchase the whole volume or anything, or is it just something that
You can purchase it. We have now, Isra is sharing online. So the
link is there.
The link is there. You can go to erisala.com and you will find all most of the works that are translated into English.
Okay.
erisala.com. Even if you write e-risala, it will come up.
Okay.
Inshallah.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. Shukran, alhamdulillah. I'm glad I came in today just to see what, if I can understand it. It was beautiful. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you for asking the question, Sister Safina. Probably this is helpful for everybody.
Okay.
Search on Receiving Your YouTube. There's a YouTube channel, and then you can see the playlist there as well. So this is part of Windows is part of a playlist. So we've been doing this maybe for more than 2 months now.
Okay. Okay. Jazakallah khair. So I can continue from here. I can go back and start.
Yes, from the beginning. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, I'll try and do at least a couple days so that I can get somewhere closer to where you are.
And if you find any particular section extremely interesting, extremely helpful, please send us an email, because we are also in the project. We have a project, hopefully, inshallah, to be able to maybe make shorter videos from this longer, because this is a session where we kind of heartstorm together, brainstorm together, reflect together. So these sessions go up to 2 hours sometimes. So we want to also have smaller videos within these sessions, separately publish them, maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes. So if you ever have a segment that you feel like, oh, this 15 minutes was so helpful, this is so new or so kind of clear to me. So if you ever feel like that, please share with us. Then we can consider that as part of our project of identifying shorter segments.
And inshallah. And I look forward to receiving your newsletters. Inshallah.
Yeah. So do a search, and if you don't find it, send us an email. Then I believe it puts you in the Receiving Nur newsletter. But if you don't find it, I'll try again. If you don't find it,
and that'll go in my email, right? Yeah, I remember I sent you the email.
Yeah. We will double check.
Please. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Thank you so much.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina, Ali, and everyone.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Fi aman.
Jazakumullah kulla khair. Thank you all.
And see you on Friday night, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, Isra.